So to start things off, I just want to introduce Larry Mathison, our CEO, CEO of Kerby Centre and soon to be CEO of the Medicine Hat Senior Centres as well. So go ahead, Larry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Lauren. And for those of you who don't know, this is the dates for National Volunteer Week. It started yesterday and it will go till April 24th. And the theme this year is the value of one, the power of many. And this is very relevant to us this year with the past response we saw from our volunteers during the pandemic. And so, like every aspect of Kerby's operation in 2020, our volunteers made a 180 pivot and helped us start doing things we'd never done before. And so our volunteers made social calls, they made masks, they made deliveries of meals and hampers and so on. And so we want to thank each of you. This year we had a total of 664 volunteers contribute 28,500 volunteer hours in 2020, which was remarkable. And 1 in 4 of our volunteers in 2020 were volunteering for Kerby Centre for the very first time. So they were new volunteers. Our corporate sponsors and volunteers were amazing this year. We had over 10 groups give their time, primarily to delivering meals to isolated seniors. And we recently found out that our volunteers in our corporate groups were profiled in a video that's actually in the Calgary Film Festival now, doing deliveries from the Blue Flame Kitchen to isolated seniors. So we were pretty excited about that. One of the things Lauren had mentioned, the programs in Medicine Hat, and as you may or may not have read in Kerby News or on our website, Kerby Centre was a successful bidder to take the contract. The City of Medicine Hat has been operating 2 senior centers in Medicine Hat for some time now, and they put it up for tender, and the team at Kerby Centre bid to run the senior centers in Medicine Hat, and we are currently in the process of developing a transition plan from the city over to the Kerby team to operate those centers. One of the exciting volunteer roles down in Medicine Hat is there's about 100 volunteers who are active in that community delivering meals because the city and now Kerby runs Meals on Wheels in that community. So we're very excited about that. So we just wanted to thank you all for supporting seniors during this year and celebrate your success and making it a successful year for seniors. And so with that, I'd pass it back to Lauren.
Thank you so much, Larry. So I'm just going to open up PowerPoint so we can look at all of the work that Kerby Centre volunteers did in 2020, because it's quite impressive as I was putting this together. So I want to take you back to January 2020. So before we had COVID, our first event was our Robbie Burns Day. So on January 25th, 2020, we had 20 special event volunteers give their time to a super fun event. Knitting for a Cause volunteers remained active all year long, contributing over 1,500 volunteer hours, and they donated to the drop-in center, the Kerby Centre shelter, and Project Warmth, and the Alpha House. Once again, before kind of COVID kicked off last year, YMCA's Littlest volunteers stopped by Kerby Centre's Adult Day program for some crafting. ATB came in March, and 16 of the volunteers helped do some renovating and upgrading projects at the shelter and also at the Kerby building. And then on March 10th, it was kind of the last time the volunteers were able to gather in person for a brunch and learn. So service credit sponsored that event. It was our last of gathering, so I hope that we can do that again soon. And then came COVID. So the volunteer response to COVID was absolutely incredible. In 2020, Kerby Centre had over 120 volunteers assisting with the Frozen Meal Initiative in response to COVID-19, and we served well over 1,500 meals to clients in need. Food service volunteers were integral for this, preparing frozen meals for our clients during the height of the pandemic. Another program that came out of COVID-19 was our social call program. So in 2020, Kerby had 20 volunteers make almost 300 check-in calls to clients who were feeling lonely or isolated due to COVID-19. Some of those calls, I know from recording the hours, were over 2 hours long, 2-hour-long chats. Thrive volunteers were busier than ever this year. Alongside staff, they completed almost 2,000 grocery shops. On May 21st, we had a special delivery from Minister of Seniors and Housing, Josephine Pon, who volunteered her time to deliver meals to our clients in need. And then in June 2020, we had the Amadia Youth Association Neighborhood Helper Campaign volunteer to deliver art kits to clients' homes for a special program. The shops remained open and closed, open and closed. So it was a quieter year for the shops, the next to new and 𝐕𝐨𝐢𝐧 boutique, but volunteers made most of their time by organizing and sorting donations, and then also doing some teaching of knitting along the way. In July 2020, 30 different special event volunteers helped prepare 320,000 masks to distribute to seniors in the Calgary area. We also had volunteers delivering those masks to the homes of seniors who couldn't get out. And then we had the mask making group. So 18 volunteers joined the Kerby mask making group and donated well over 200 cloth masks for Kerby Centre, the staff, visitors, and volunteers to wear. So a special thank you to 𝐁𝐞𝐬𝐴𝐺 Foundation for donating the masks donating the fabric for those masks. And then we also had the Adco meal program. So 3,500 Adco meals were delivered to clients by a team of both individual and corporate volunteers over a 7-week period between August to October. And the corporate support for making that happen was incredible. We had 9 corporate volunteers assist with meal delivery in 2020. This included Checker Cabs, Enverus, Goldman Sachs, Pembina, Plains Midstream, RBC, Stuart Olson, TELUS Community Ambassadors, and Vermilion Energy. And despite closing and opening and closing and opening, the wellness volunteers still contributed almost 1,800 volunteer hours and saw over 1,000 foot care appointments in 2020. In September 2020, staff from the Calgary Remand Centre volunteered their time to hold a 50-50 draw and a food drive for the shelter as well. And they also decorated the sidewalk outside. Kerby News volunteers contributed their time all year long, almost 300 hours, with mail outs, editorial, and contributing content. So COVID-19 didn't stop the volunteer programs, such as the art group and the shelter. They just went virtual. So shelter volunteers contributed over 1,300 volunteer hours in 2020. The woodshop volunteers stayed active most of the year. One of the special projects was these mountain shelves, and they raised $700 and counting for the Mountain Shelf Initiative. And I think those shelves are still available for purchase. Volunteers also supported our brand new food rescue program by running pop-up markets every Tuesday and Friday. We had them outdoors, we had them in the dining room, we had them in the gym, and 1,083 clients were served at those markets. And the markets also went externally. So volunteers commuted to other senior centers such as Parkdale Nifty 50s, Greater Forest Lawn, and Good Companions 50 Plus Club to reach even more clients. Information resources remained active all year long despite the pandemic. An impressive 2,860 tax returns were still filed by clients in 2020, and volunteers contributed over 4,600 volunteer hours. And starting in December, volunteers jumped on board to help deliver rescue food to our clients most in need. And they've continued to do so every single Wednesday since. Of course, it takes an army to make that run. Behind the scenes, we've got volunteers who sort, organize, prepare all the bread for markets and hampers for delivery day. And then we gathered virtually on December 16th. A special thank you to our volunteers, Jen and Dawn from Double Standard, for performing at that event. And the Adco Christmas meal delivery. So we got the opportunity to deliver 100 Christmas meals to our clients on December 23rd. It was a very snowy day, so thank you to all those volunteers. And we were able to give 100 meals away. So thank you to all 664 volunteers who contributed 28,500 volunteer hours in 2020. It really takes an army to accomplish everything that we do at Kerby. And now I would just like to pass the floor over to Richard Parker, who is our board president. And he's going to talk about our milestone volunteer hour recipients.
Thank you to all our volunteers, both those on the call and those of you who are not able to join us but may look at the recording. From the point of view of myself and the board, without the efforts of you and all of your colleagues in the many roles you perform that Lauren has just talked about, Kerby Centre could not have achieved what they did, especially during this last year. The fact that we increased the number of people who were volunteering so dramatically, but also changed the roles that many of them performed, is indicative of both the flexibility, strength, and commitment of the volunteer spirit, not only in Calgary, but particularly in Kerby Centre. Now to what they asked me to do. For the third year, Kerby is recognizing volunteers for their amazing milestone achievements, we do this recognition at 1,000, 2,500, and 5,000 volunteer hours. This was a unique year due to COVID. In the past years, we've been able to recognize multiple volunteers for reaching milestones. But this year, we're only able to recognize one special volunteer for his contributions. At this point in one of the, I hope it's on the screen, you can see James or Jim Ormrod. Here's a picture of him without the mask on. Jim has been giving his time to Kerby in a variety of roles over the last 15 years. He started volunteering in 1996, spent a period as actually on the staff in the kitchen, and then continued volunteering again when he moved out of that role. His volunteer role has primarily centered on food services, both in the dining room and in delivering things like for the food security program. But in addition, he volunteered for the Wednesday dance registering clients. Whenever we put out a call, he'd help us at the casinos. And the more recent past has been sorting, packing, and weighing the rescued food that comes in and getting it ready to be delivered by other volunteers. Jim is always willing to help out where he can, and we are so thankful for his expertise, particularly in the food area. So on behalf of everybody, that is the board, the staff, our other volunteers, and our clients, Jim, thank you for everything you've contributed to Kerby Centre, and congratulations on making it to this impressive milestone. As I said to you before we came on, I'm sorry I can't be there to greet you in person, and I look forward to being able to do that when circumstances now allow. But remember, you truly do make a difference with what you do in your volunteer activities, and that is tremendously important to everyone involved. And finally, to all volunteers, have a happy volunteers work. I'm delighted to be able to recognize you. Thank you very much, and back to Lauren.
Thank you so much, Richard, and congratulations again to Jim. That is an amazing achievement.
Thank you all for your dedication as well as staff. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your day, and happy Volunteer Week.